Hello everyone, it's your girl Mama FAERY or FAERY. I am a crystal Reiki master, a medium, and artist, and today we're going to be talking about New Earth, soul contracts, and sacred embodied activism. Let's get into it. If you hear bachata in the background, those are my neighbors. Y'all already know I'm up in here in Jersey, in Patterson, New Jersey, up in my Dominican people con mi gente, ya tu sabe que lo que. So I have been wanting to make this video for a long time, for about 2.5 years specifically. I have been making it on and off on my TikTok and on my Instagram, making little reels here and there, but I really just wanted to get into the juice and make a video and really settle down into my body, settle down into the energy, the medicine that I really am meant to be channeling on this planet in these times. And so today I want to talk a little bit about New Earth, soul contracts, and sacred activism, and what that actually means. So if you're watching this, you're most likely a starseed. If you listen to my music, you're most likely a starseed. If you're into meditation and chakras and healing and New Earth ascension and connecting with the divine and remembering who you are, spiritual awakening, you're most likely a starseed, and this isn't new. Since 2012, Earth or Gaia, or basically the entity, the consciousness of the Earth, is choosing to ascend into a fifth dimensional awareness, into a fifth dimensional consciousness. And Source consciousness, or God, or Great Spirit, is now choosing to end the free will contract and to return all lost souls, all stagnant souls, all fragmented souls back to its original birth point, which is divinity, love, and grace, and alignment, and it's the consciousness of complete unity. And so as Source ends this free will contract, this means that Earth, Gaia, Sophia, the entity, the consciousness of the Earth, is choosing to ascend into a higher state of consciousness. She is choosing to vibrate at higher frequency to reach the state of unity consciousness. And as beings of the Earth, as children of the Earth, as sons and daughters of the Earth, we are ascending with her. This means that humanity is undergoing a huge spiritual awakening. We are all collectively awakening into our highest timeline, awakening into our highest, most authentic self, remembering who we are as inherent children of the divine, remembering who we are as inherent co-creators of this reality, as extensions of Source consciousness, of God, of love. As we are healing on a cellular level, healing all harmful indoctrinations, all harmful conditionings, as we are releasing fear and stagnancy and anxiety from our field and aligning with the highest divine timeline, which is love and light, we are remembering our power on this planet once again. And this is then goes on to recreate the civilizations of Atlantis and Lemuria and Mu. We are recreating a paradise on Earth. We are remembering who we are and where we came from, and from that space of inherent divine knowingness, of inherent divinity within ourselves, we are then creating on the physical reality paradise. This is what New Earth is. This is what everyone talks about. This is what everyone's kind of going on about in the Starseed, in the Indigo Children, in the spiritual New Age communities. They're talking about a new age, and this has been prophesized by many Native American prophecies. All of these prophecies talked about a time in humanity where everyone will collectively wake up into their power and choose love. Now, this is not an easy process. This is not something you just meditate for 3 hours and clap and there you go. Everyone's eating organic foods and everyone's loving each other, and racism doesn't exist and sexism doesn't exist, and we all live in the forest, you know, and we all live sustainably in the forest, like living in permaculture villages. And this is, even though that's kind of happening now, which is great, this is not something that is going to happen overnight. It's not even something that's going to happen over the range of 5 to 10 years. This is something that happens gradually over time, and it starts with the self, or really it starts with the cells. It's cellular regeneration, it's cellular alchemy. It's the process of creating New Earth is a process of purification. It's a process of purging. It's a process of all the old and all the corrupt and all the malevolent systems collapsing so that we can build a new Earth on the foundation of love, alignment, and God. Now, this is going to look like chaos. As many of y'all have noticed, the world is kind of collapsing, and it's great. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because what is collapsing are the systems, the belief systems, the energies that are no longer in alignment, that have never been in alignment with the highest timeline. And so collectively, as the human race, we are all undergoing a dark night of the soul. And this was very much palpable and obvious during COVID times, where everyone was forced to sit in with themselves and reflect. From that self-reflection, from that going inside, we're able to really birth a new paradigm that is in alignment with who we actually are as beings and children of love. In order for New Earth to really be birthed, we need to do the internal work, every single one of us. As children of the divine, we all chose to incarnate for a specific reason. We all have a mission on this planet. We all came down as beings of light, as extensions of source consciousness. We all chose to incarnate down into the flesh to do something, to assist in the evolution of consciousness, whether that is through channeling, through healing, through art, through being a business person, through recreating the school systems, through recreating the medical systems. Whatever that is, whatever it is, you are meant to accomplish this specific mission to help the world evolve into a higher state of consciousness. Now, this looks different for everyone, and this means something different for everyone. We are all abundant beings. We are all beings of infinite abundance with the power to co-create our realities. When we realize that we are all here to assist in the evolution of consciousness, when we realize that we are all here for a reason, with a purpose and with a mission, we can then open up, trust in the journey, and begin listening to that flow. Because if you don't listen to that flow, you are potentially failing your mission, and you will have to reincarnate in the flesh again to do what you could have been doing in this lifetime. And so this is what a soul contract is. Your soul contract is a contract, an energetic contract, or an agreement of what your soul is meant to learn and achieve in this lifetime. To complete the soul contract and to complete your destiny and your mission, that is entirely your choice, which is what the free will contract is about, because Source says you have everything that you can to be happy. It's your choice if you want to be happy or not. And so again, this is why I always say the only reason, the way that people can actually be happy in this lifetime is if they are living in alignment with their missions, is if they are living in alignment with their purpose. Because if you are not living in alignment with your purpose, there's a high chance and a high possibility that you will be unfulfilled, because what makes your soul fulfilled in this lifetime will be what you chose to do before you incarnated, which is why it's so important and it's so crucial that you step into your purpose in whichever way that looks like for you, because that is really your nourishment, that is your happiness. And when you're happy, when your soul is happy, the earth is happy. When your soul is happy, the universe is happy. The universe wants to see you thrive. And so what does this have to do with sacred embodied activism in New Earth? So I'll get into sacred embodied activism in a second, but New Earth is only created when all souls are able to work in alignment with their missions. New Earth can only be created if every single soul deeply tunes into Source and walks in alignment with their purpose, walks in alignment with their mission. New Earth can only be birthed when every single soul is in alignment with Source consciousness. This means that every single soul is working with their soul's contract, is learning the lessons, is writing that book. They are making that music. They're going ahead, they're going forward, moving forward with their businesses. They're moving forward with creating the school that they wanted to create. This means that every single soul is aware that they are powerful co-creators of their reality, and in that awareness, they are then able to birth paradigms that are also in alignment with that awareness. And this is when sacred embodied activism comes in, and this is something that I don't see a lot of people talking about, which is why I've been really excited to make this video and to create this video. Now that we've covered all this hyperdimensional, spiritual, soul healing, astral information, it's time to ground it down into the flesh. Now, what I see in the New Age communities is that everyone talking about how everything is love and everything is light and everything is one. And yes, although that is true, there are still so many disparities that happen in society, so many unhealthy power dynamics, so much that is still going on a identity level that has not been acknowledged and the work has not been done. I'm going to start with talking a little bit about my journey of awakening and stepping into the path of sacred embodied activism. So from the ages of 13 to 16, I was an avid social activist. I was passionate about LGBTQ plus human rights and civil rights and decolonialism and Black Lives Matter and identity politics and, you know, my social location and locating internalized racism. I was very, very passionate about dismantling the corrupt systems, the corrupt infrastructures in which this country was born off of, which is the shackles of genocide and slavery, and in my country too. I was obsessed with trying to make the world a better place from this space of fighting and resisting white supremacy and resisting colonialism and resisting misogyny and resisting heteronormativity. From the ages of 13 to 16, I was passionate, I was focused, but I was also miserable. I was angry at the world. I was angry at history. I was angry at every man. I was angry at every white person. I was angry at every straight person. I was angry at every cisgender person, even though I am cisgender. You know, I was angry at everybody, everyone that perpetuated these ideas that I was working so hard against. And so when I had my spiritual awakening at the age of 16, I began meditating and connecting with my soul, and I started learning from the New Age that the ego is not real, and that the ego is an illusion, and that identity is an illusion, and that when we identify with all of these, when we identify with our race and with our gender and with our sexuality, we're actually just limiting ourselves, and that we're actually holding ourselves back from enlightenment or from embodiment or from ascension. And so when I learned that, I disconnected from everything that was social activism, anything that had to do with decolonial healing, anything that had to do with feminism, anything that had to do with racism. I disconnected from all of that, and I just became a humble monk in my basement, meditating for hours without caring about the world, only focusing on myself, cultivating peace, cultivating happiness, cultivating listening to my soul's purpose and acting on it. But in me being by myself in my hermitude and disconnecting from the identity, I developed a sense of dissociation from my identity, a dissociation from my humanness. And in that sense of dissociation, I began to invalidate other people's pain. I was treating other people horribly. I developed spiritual materialism. I developed attributes of spiritual materialism and spiritual narcissist. I became a narcissist, something that I'm still trying to undo today. Anyone that wasn't spiritual, anyone that was a social activist, anyone that was too identified with the human and with the ego was lower than me and was less intelligent than me and was less valuable than me, because I knew the truth, because I was a spiritual teacher, because I meditated for hours and I dedicated every single second of my life to ascension. That if you did it, then there must be something wrong with you. You've fallen off your path and you are asleep and you are unawakened. And so I developed a lot of these narcissistic belief systems. I developed a sense of hyper individuality within my spiritual practices, which actually pushed me farther away from community, pushed me farther away from the collective, and pushed me farther away from my own humanity. The reason I pushed humanity away is because I was pushing myself away. I was pushing my pain away. I was pushing my trauma away. I was not doing the shadow work, even though I thought I was doing the shadow work at the moment. To some extent I was. I really wasn't becoming aware of the deeply rooted belief systems that I held in my body, because the New Age spiritual community told me that it was an illusion. And through the New Age community telling me that my pain was an illusion, I was then brainwashed into not working with it, into not becoming aware of it, into not being curious towards it, into not developing more consciousness with these wounds and healing them with my consciousness. It wasn't until I moved to college, my spiritual college, Naropa University, shout out to my peeps, that I found with community the perfect combination of social activism and spirituality. Something that I have learned in the meshing and the fusion of these worlds is about soul contracts. Again, we're back to soul contracts, right? I believe that every single human being chose to incarnate in the flesh, to incarnate within their specific social locations, to incarnate within their specific identities, to incarnate within their specific sexuality, their specific gender, to undo all of the harmful, distorted conditionings that these identities hold. Take a second and receive that. This means that every single ounce of pain that we carry in our bodies is not only valid, but it's crucial to the awakening of humanity. It is crucial to the awakening of the soul. Pain, the ego, is just a gateway into spiritual liberation. The pain is just a catalyst into deeper spiritual awakening. When we learn how to work with the ego and not against the ego, when we stop villainizing the ego, and when we start befriending the ego, we integrate the ego. Slow motion this side, baby. Woo, so this is not Infinite Waters, okay? This is my Nefarious page. But anyway, we start integrating the ego into our spiritual experience. The ego, the human, and the spiritual become connected. They become one holistic being because they are one. The human, the ego, is another reflection and extension of source consciousness. And as spiritual beings, we know this. We created the ego. We created the human experience to expand, to learn, to deepen. And so, why are we villainizing it? Why are we suppressing the ego? Why are we pretending that we're not human? Why are we pretending that we don't have emotions? Why are we pretending that we don't cry? The most spiritual thing that a person can do is cry and feel their emotions and take responsibility for their actions and to apologize, to be a real human being, not to have this Jesus complex and pretend that they're more awakened and enlightened than other people, because we are all human and we are all imperfect, and in that imperfection lies perfection. We are all divine and we are all human. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And so when we befriend the ego, when we stop villainizing the ego, we can integrate the ego into our spiritual experience and we can become whole embodied beings where there is no fragmentation, no narcissism, no suppression, no repression of the self. This is when we talk about sacred embodied activism. This is what sacred embodied activism is. Now, sacred activism is the understanding and the awareness that we are spiritual beings of light, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And it is the understanding that within this physical realm, there are constructs such as race, sexuality, gender, and within those constructs, there are specific traumas that we are meant to heal so that they can turn into lessons. Within these constructs, within these identity constructs, there are specific traumas that we are supposed to heal so that it can turn into medicine, so that we can be the medicine holders, so we can turn identity into medicine, so that we can awaken through the identity. Okay? Sacred activism is spiritual awakening through the human identity. When we are able to become aware of the energetic blockages that each identity holds on a personal somatic level and then as a collective level, we are able to do the deep work and arrive at source consciousness. In order for us to actually arrive at an integrated earth that lives in harmony with the natural laws of creation, we must do this identity work, or else we will see fragmentation, just as we do today, where the New Age spiritual communities preach we are all one, and then there is racism, police brutality, and rape happening in the next corner. The New Age community is infiltrated by white supremacists, white colonial supremacist thinking. A New Age spiritual community that does not hold space and address racism, sexism, homophobia, unhealthy power dynamics, colonialism. A New Age community that does not hold space for identity work will then continue to perpetuate the same harms that have been happening for centuries, because it is still in the unconscious. Because the perpetrators are not aware that they are perpetuating. This pain is still, as long as the pain is in the unconscious mind, it will continue to repeat. And so I want to be very clear with this. Okay? Any New Age community that is not doing the identity work will continue to perpetuate colonial pain. If you are not aware of it, it will continue to perpetuate. We are all colonized. Because, and I'm talking more about, humanity, but I'm talking more about Western civilization in this country, in America. America was built off the shackles of genocide and slavery. Everything that we have been taught, everything that we know, is given to us by the white supremacist hand. Okay? I want you to really receive this. And if you already do your sacred activist work, then you know what I'm talking about. Okay? The lack of diversity, the lack of representation, the lack of BIPOC voices, the lack of the lack of representation within the feminine, the lack of representation when it comes to sexual orientations and genders. When we only see one thing, the same thing over and over and over again, we are conditioned into believing that that is normal. To be a white male is to be seen as normal, and to be anything else is to be seen as othered. That is separation consciousness. We talk so much about separation consciousness in the New Age community. We do not see how colonialism is the root issue in this country. Okay? Because it is rooted in fear and in separation. It is rooted in the intention to divide and conquer. This country was built off of separation and fear. And so in order for us to actually do the work, in order for all these spiritual concepts to actually ground into the physical body, we must become aware of this. We must become aware of our own social locations, of our privileges, of our biases, of our prejudices, of our internalized racism, internalized homophobia, internalized sexism. And we must do this work, not only on a personal level, but on a collective level. The New Age teaches that awakening happens by yourself. When you're meditating in a corner and there you can find God. No. Awakening is by yourself, yes. And it is also on a collective level. It is on a collective level. It is community-based. Original spirituality taught by the ancestors, by the African indigenous ancestors, were always based on interdependency, on community, on connection. Because we are interconnected with the web of life. And so, the Western hyper-independency is white supremacy. Hyper-independency is Western colonialism. Colonialism is infiltrated within the New Age communities. What we need, if we are preaching love, what we need is to apply love to ourselves, to our family, and to our community of all diversities and of all types of people. We must get past these obstacles. We must get past these walls and these social barriers. And we must see a person as a reflection of ourselves. And in order for us to do this, we have to become aware that there is a wall in the first place. If we're not aware that there is a wall, then we're going to be perpetuating the same thing over and over again. Thus, history repeats itself. In the New Age, history is repeating itself. This is why in the New Age community, you only see white people. And a lot of them are white men. A lot of them are white girls too. When the BIPOC were the original medicine holders, we were the original wisdom keepers of this information. Everything that is New Age, from crystals to timelines to meditation, all of this is information that was found by BIPOC. Now, who are the people that are preaching it today? Think about that. Think about that. Sacred activism is the awareness and the understanding that we are spiritual beings of light, and that we all sign soul contracts within our specific identity to do the specific work of this specific identity. As a Dominican woman, as a Black, white, and indigenous woman, this means I have it all inside of me. I have the pain and the medicine. I have the poison and the medicine simultaneously. This is something that I'm going to get into more later. I'm going to make another video about this. Again, I can talk for hours about this. But this means that my specific work for me is to return to my indigenous and African roots, to reclaim pride and to unlearn, to reclaim pride around my African roots and to unlearn shame, to connect back to my indigenous roots, learn from and unlearn beliefs of erasure that I have been taught about myself. Ascension and spiritual healing looks different for BIPOC, specifically Black and indigenous people, than it looks for white people. White people don't have to do the same type of healing that BIPOC have to do. Black and indigenous people of color have to do different types of healing. We have to do the decolonial healing, the unlearning of white supremacy. And for white people, it is also decolonial unlearning of white supremacy. But for white people, it is connecting to their pain and to their grief. Because white people have only colonized us because they were colonized first. And so they are in deep pain and they have to get to the root of that. And so we all have to grieve together as a community. We all have to come to the root of our pain as a community, individually and collectively. And so sacred activism is a merging of the higher spiritual worlds and the deeper, lower physical realms. And it is finding God right here in the heart. The merging of the worlds. The higher and the lower, you find God in the heart, you find completion in the heart, you find healing in the heart. It is all about love. It is only through love that we can do this healing. When I was in my activist stages, from 13 to 16, I was very focused on identity work, but I was disconnected from the spiritual realms. And as I was so focused on the identity work and disconnected from the spiritual realms, I found that I was just in constant pain because I didn't have a space to heal. I was in a soup and I was going in circles and circles and circles with the same hatred, with the same pain. That is dangerous. When you stay within the intellect and when you stay within the mind and when you stay disconnected from spirit within activist spaces, you then oppress the oppressors. You do the same thing that the colonizers have done to us. You repeat the cycle. Because pain that is unhealed will just create more pain. On the other hand, when I was in my spiritual world and I was dissociated from everything, I found that I was unable to relate to the world at all. I was so disconnected, I wasn't even able to fully bring down my purpose. Because I did not want to see the shadows. I did not want to see the pain and the separation and the hatred. I wanted to be as far away from that as possible, and I chose all these transcendent spiritual beliefs so that I can make myself feel better about myself, about who I was. But that wasn't working either because it was just a distraction. I wasn't actually doing the work. And so in both realms, I wasn't doing the work. And when I combine both of them, when I'm focused on identity, when I'm focused on who I am and what I came here to accomplish, while also having the awareness that I'm a spiritual infinite being of light that has limitless potential and abundance, and I'm here to co-create with source consciousness, I have the space to heal, and I also have that focus and that groundedness into the physical body. So this information, this healing is accessible for everyone, not just for white spiritual hippies that live in the mountain. To create new earth is to do the social activist work so that we can actually see all these higher spiritual concepts grounded into the physical reality as new systems, new policies, as indigenous people getting their land back, as the end of police brutality, as the end of rape, as the end of child trap, as the end of homophobia and transphobia, as the end of hate crimes, as the end of fear, separation consciousness. Because everything that happens is just a result. Everything that happens within this sphere is just a result of separation. consciousness. It is a result of fear. And so, we're able to do this work from a spiritual space. Find that balance between the physical and the spiritual and the energetic. That's when we are actually able to achieve a state of embodiment within the human existence. We are God in the flesh. We are God in the flesh. And we are capable of anything that we want. We must not grip. We also must not be too loose. We must find that balance. And so, as a Libra, learn from your Libra about balance, okay? I'm your triple Libra. Your triple Libra is teaching you a little bit about balance because she knows what I'm talking about. I'm joking. I'm just learning all this. Thank you so much for listening. If you resonated, let me know in the comments below. You can find my Goddess of Creation music video here, my Goddess of Creation album that just came out that is dedicated to the awakening of feminine energy here. You can find my Moonstone lyric video here. I'm going to be releasing lyric videos, more lyric videos in the future, and I'm going to be releasing a lot of other videos in the future. So yeah, just stay tuned, and yeah, thanks for tuning in. I love you guys.